Explain to us the mystery behind the theremin.
All right. Does anyone here even know what a theremin is? Has anyone seen one before? Well, hey, all right. Why don't you describe it? Now, the layman's terms of what it is a theremin is a device that was invented almost 100 years ago by the guy who invented the burglar alarm. His name was Leon Theremin. And he was setting up an antenna for prisons that if somebody got closer to the antenna, it would set off an alarm. The capacitance of somebody's body would step into an electromagnetic field and set off an alarm. And he realized that there was actual musical notes in between the slide of the alarm. So he devised this instrument to be played as a musical instrument. And what it is it's two antennas that make an electromagnetic field. And we take electricity right out of the outlet, and I trap it in between the two antennas. And I put my hands in those fields, and I bend the electricity, and I make it sound like an opera singer. You don't see anything, I don't touch anything. The theremin is the only instrument ever made where you don't touch it, you don't strum it, you don't blow into it. It's just air, no different than the air in front of me, except I have two antennas on either side. And I bend my hands on that electricity, and it makes a voice-like quality, like a coloratura soprano.
Some of your members are giggling here, and I wonder if it's just because you have to look pretty funny, just throwing your hands around. I mean, I'm just going to do that when I talk now and just tell people I'm playing the theremin.
Yeah, that's it. It's air theremin. Well, see, I'm Italian, so my gesticulation is off the hook to
As am
begin
I.
with. But
I was just imagining that first prison guy who was trying to break out and discovering that it made a noise, and so he started doing the hokey pokey.
figuring out how it works. When the inventor who invented the theremin finished the theremin, he toured the world in the 20s, and he went on to invent some... Yeah, there you go.
You broke it.
That's what it sounds like.
Ask your presence.
After he invented the theremin, he went on to tour the world performing on the theremin, and he invented the bug, the listening device for the CIA. And of course, when the Russian government at the time found out in the 20s that he was over here...
There he is, inventing away. Or not.
Inventing espionage equipment, they threw him in a Russian gulag for 47 years. And he was never heard from again. And unfortunately, all the instruments he had built fell into a state of disrepair. And nobody knew how to fix them because nobody knew how it worked. And everyone thought he was dead, but he was actually in a Russian prison. So the theremin fell out of favor because there was nobody left to play it or fix it. It re-emerged sometime in the 50s and 60s, but nobody really knew how to play it. They got it to work. So they used it as sound effects in horror movies, like The Day the Earth Stood Still is a great example. Whenever the little alien ship would land, you would hear the theremin make a wooey, spooky ghost sound, or anything right up to Scooby-Doo. Then Clara Rockmore showed the world how to play the instrument as a real classical instrument. She was the first person to show people that electricity can be made to sing like a violin or a human voice, and performed real classical compositions, making it not a novelty instrument but a very serious instrument. And this is the mantle that I'm trying to take up. And thanks to my very talented and wonderful ensemble, we're able to present this in a way that's not completely alien to a listener. They're going, oh yeah, this is Mozart. It sounds just like what I've heard before. And they can close their eyes and think they're hearing a voice, and then open their eyes and see me gesticulating wildly in the air.
So there you have it, monothereminist and historian.
I am a historian. At the end of our shows, we do a question and answer session, and some of them have gone on for an hour and a half, and people have asked some really detailed stories about the history of the instrument.
I can believe that,
'Cause
Mono.
it's so weird.
I can. Tonight you guys are going to be playing a selection of funerary music for us. So, what is funerary music? I think funeral when I hear it. Let's explanation here.
Well, there's funeral music, and then there's funerary violin music, which is kind of different. And there's a history of playing the violin for the dead only, and the violinist would either a soloist or a duet, or in our case a quartet, would perform during the funeral service, and then lead the funeral procession to the gravesite and play for the dead into the night after the rest of the people had already left. And that's sort of the art of playing funerary violin, and there's specific music out there that the violinist plays, and there's suites, and they have separate movements, and each piece is sort of composed to represent a different aspect of death, I suppose, or an emotional feeling. You know, the titles of the movements are something like the dizzying flight of death is one of them, or the sultry dance of death, the somber coquetry of death, and then there's dream, requiem, elegy, you know, and then there's the regular funeral marches that were just arranged for the violinist to play, and that's sort of what funerary violin is.
Yeah, there was a specific purpose behind this. Since you're playing for the dead, it was thought of as to make the spirit aware that it has passed and rid it of its negative energy and aid its journey up to heaven. So when it came to those that the spirit left behind, it was something very meaningful for those people to have a funerary violinist play for their loved one that has passed. It really provided them with a sense of comfort, knowing or believing that funerary violin was actually helping those that had passed on.
And tonight, we're going to perform a funerary tango with our string quartet. It's a traditional tango done in a funerary style, and you'll be able to hear some of how that's different than a normal tango. And if you go to our website, you'll be able to see a funerary solo by Monique Conier, and she's performing a solo violin piece that was written for the grave sites.
And you really should go to divinehand.net to check that out. It really is something amazing. Also coming up very shortly, we'll have a performance by the string quartet playing the funerary music. We also want to remind the audience to check out the Divine Hand Ensemble this October 31st at the Sellersville Theater with their third annual Halloween performance featuring a set of Halloween themes and All Saints Day themed opera arias. So we're going to look forward to that. Any closing comments for the Divine Hand Ensemble?
Yeah, I'd like to make one. Janelle is our latest member of the group. She's the newest member of the group, and before her was Mary. And I'm a little curious, what was your first impression when you first came to the group about how... Oh, don't you move your eyes. What was your first impression of the theremin and the group, the way we were using it?
Well, it was interesting. When Mano contacted me, he was really vague about the instrument that he played, and I was like, what is so unique about this? I feel like I've seen this instrument before, and it turns out that I had played with a few thereminists in the past. And what's so unique about this ensemble is that he's the first thereminist I've ever worked with that made it sound beautiful. In most ensembles I've been with, they did it really microtonally, where it was this really weird effect. It was made to kind of make you cover your ears, sort of. But one thing that I really liked about the ensemble was it really was like a family. And I kind of fit right in with the dirty jokes.
Everyone's going to think we're so naughty.
But, sometimes you go into a new ensemble, a quartet, a chamber orchestra, you're kind of nervous because you feel like everybody's watching you, they want you to fail, you know what I mean? Because it's so competitive. It was one of those things where I feel like when I'm in this ensemble, everybody wants me to succeed for the greater good of the ensemble. So.
How about you, Mary? What was your first take when you first sat down with the group and saw the theremin in action and saw what we were doing?
Oh my God, I'm playing in a band. I'm not really I am a musician, but that's not my day job. I just play one on TV. And so walking into this, I've only been playing the harp for 8 years. Gigi is my teacher.
Only 8 years.
Yeah, she's a baby.
So this is the first group I've ever played with, and they accepted me like I knew what I was doing. So after a while, if people make you feel like you know what you're doing, it seems that way.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Divine Hand! Thank you.